Hello. So, in this episode, I am going to be spilling the tea on my Burning Man story and how a very specific experience that I had was a conduit for releasing another chunk of shame that my body was holding, because the healing journey is a process. It is not something that we can miraculously heal overnight or in a second. That's the human experience. That's the whole journey, is to be in the process and find a way to enjoy the process. But this chunk of shame that I was able to release in this very unexpected way was a big chunk. And shame shows up in our bodies in so many forms. It shows up not just in sex, it shows up not just in body insecurities, it shows up in the way that we exist in the world. It shows up in the most basic things of life. It shows up in how we think about ourselves and others. It shows up in grocery shopping. It shows up in walking, dressing, eating, moving, talking, thinking, breathing. So this story is about peeing. I call it my epeephany. Okay, so it was my second time at Burning Man, and it was a massive year, like the year before that, the year leading up to Burning Man. And I went through two big breakups. One was massive, the other was small, but still, I don't know, kind of catalytic. And I'd lost my brother, my nephew was born. I just had such a such a journey. I don't know why the word journey has become taboo, but I guess it has become taboo because people keep saying that it's become taboo. But it was a journey. It was a journey of grief and heartbreak and discovering myself and being brave enough to still trust in life and show up and interact with life. I just had to pause that because my little fridge over there started making sounds, and I'm probably not going to edit that out. Okay, so I'm second year at Burning Man, and I am in deep playa. So for those of you who do not know what deep playa is, it's the area in the desert where there's not a lot of art cars, there's not a lot of people, it's quieter. People go out there to go ride around on their bikes and be with the stars. That's why I go out there. I go out there to be more in the quiet. And there's also usually some really cool hidden art at the very, very back in this deep playa zone. And obviously, for those of you who know what deep playa is, I don't even have to tell you. So I was in deep playa on my bike with a few friends, and I had to pee so bad. It was honestly a scary feeling. So at Burning Man, you're forbidden to pee on the playa. And for very good reason. Just think of all the people that go to Burning Man. It would be a disaster if people were peeing on the playa. And one of the principles in Burning Man is leave no trace. So, the attempt to have as minimal to no impact on the land. And principles like that are so important to me, deeply in my core and integrity. And I love going to places with that in mind. And I can be quite extreme with it. which I think like, you know, is like a plus side of me and also can be to my own detriment. So I'm in deep playa. I have to pee so bad. There's one outhouse in the area, and the lineup is so huge, like massive. So I'm with a few humans, and I had to literally make the decision, am I going to pee my pants? Honestly, it wasn't even a decision. I was like already accepting that I was probably going to have to pee my pants. And then I was going to be cold and I was going to be wet. It was going to be awful. Like, it was going to suck so bad. And I remember this feeling in my gut, like I had so much pain, you know, the pain in like holding in your pee, the disgust and shame that I felt in my body as well, of like either option. And I was prompted by one of the friends that I was with to go where there's no light. So they call, like, there's dark zones at the in the deep playa. So when there's no lights, when you turn all your lights off, it's really, really dark. And my friend was like, I'm going to show you a secret. Don't tell anybody, like, you know, and now I'm telling people, but and my friend was like, hey, I'm going to cover you and you go and pee over there. And it was me and my other friend who both needed to pee. So we went together. And then as I was peeing there, I was peeing there with her. And, you know, she also was this beautiful woman connected to the land, you know, had her own intuitive medicine. And I was like, okay, I feel so guilty. I feel like this is wrong. So she was like, well, why don't you talk to the playa? Why don't you speak to the playa and ask the playa if it's okay? And, you know, ask her how she feels about this experience. And I dropped in, I connected with this like very powerful land and energy. And I could cry just remembering that moment. And I felt this like heartbeat in me and this heartbeat in her. And she, like, this deep sense of knowing that it was absolutely okay for me to have that experience of like, I need to go pee and I'm going to pee on this land right now so that I don't have to pee my pants. So I ended up peeing on the playa. It was such a profound experience because up until then I had this deep, deep belief that I was not allowed to do that, and B, that it was more important that I ignore my body and my physical, like, I literally was in physical pain and I had so much shame in my body. And so up until that moment, I didn't even know that there was another way. I didn't know that there was another option, that I was allowed to still make a choice that was in the highest good of my body, and that I could pray to the playa and ask the playa to receive this and ask the playa to be with me in that moment and thank her for letting me even be there on the land. Thank the playa for loving me and taking care of me and like being in that moment with me and keeping me safe and protecting me. Like, nobody saw me, even though we were in plain sight. Like, there are no at Burning Man, like, if you don't have lights on and you're in deep playa, it's like you're in the protection of the desert and the darkness, and it's so sacred. The feeling is fucking profound. And it was like my whole body got filled with this sensation of love and protection and care and beauty and permission. And I felt this massive, massive, like, light bulb go off in my brain that I can't even believe that my entire life I had been holding my body in so many specific ways in order to put other people and other rules and regulations over mine, that I had been letting this complete outside reality control my body in order to be good, in order to fit in. And I had this, it's like this wave of agency just came and returned to my body. I felt so free. I felt so powerful. I felt like this deep trust inside of myself because I was able to trust my relationship with the earth was bigger than that festival, was bigger than that gathering, that my relationship with my body and spirit and the land was beyond shame, was beyond these rules and regulations that, like, again, are like there for a good reason. They're so important. Like, if I had the chance, I would have loved to just be in the outhouse. And just knowing that I was able to make that decision for myself and for my body, that I was allowed to make decisions for my body that were right and good for me, was so incredibly healing. And that I had these like beautiful humans and friends to encourage that energy. It was this returning to my heart and my pussy and my inner knowing and my inner power and beauty, and in my belly, this divine connection that I am of the earth. And so I felt this sense of mirroring, that my body and the earth's body are not separate, are not different. And by getting to have that moment of permission and love and connection, it brought me even deeper into my power. It brought me even deeper into my voice. And since then, I remember this like time in the future where I was at a thrift store and I had to pee so bad. There was no bathroom in that thrift store. It was like a massive thrift store that, and there was really no places nearby. It was just one of those classic situations of like, nope, this bathroom's only for staff. So again, instead of peeing my pants, I went out to the parking lot and peed beside somebody's car in the parking lot. And the person who owned that car saw me and was like sus about this person crouching down beside their car. And he walks over and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing by my car?" Blah. And then he sees that I'm peeing there. And I remember peeing there and just embodying this energy in my body. Like, I am allowed to be here. I am allowed to have this experience. And he came up and saw what I was doing. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And then he left. He left me alone. And so it gave me this ability to like take up more space, that my body is allowed to be safe, that my body is allowed to exist, that I am allowed to make decisions and choices for my body without getting arrested, without being shamed or wronged, and like that I'm allowed to make these choices. So since then, I have went on this most beautiful journey with my pelvic floor. My earliest memory of being shamed for having to go pee was in elementary school and then in high school, where I was literally shamed by the teachers for having to go pee and leave class because they thought that I was just making excuses to leave the classroom. And I went on this massive journey of like figuring out this relationship that I had with my pelvic floor, where instead of it feeling safe to relax and release these very natural, literally like born with these natural releases and bodily fluids, where somehow like I was taught that that was wrong or bad, or that I had to like fix something with my body. So I went on this beautiful journey of exploring like my earliest memories of my relationship with my pelvic floor and my bladder. And during the time where my where we were moving around from house to house, and where my mom was going through all these divorces, and where there was just so much change, and I didn't have a consistent caregiver in the house because my mom had to work full time to support 4 kids as a single mom. Like, those are my earliest memories, and I started to look at this grief and this sadness and this anxiety I had holding in my bladder and in my pelvic floor, and how that was also related to the stories that I was experiencing in sex and sexuality, of feeling like I'm not safe to release, I'm not safe to relax my pelvic floor. And then I went back even further at my earliest sexual experiences, where I was able to have what people know as like a gushing orgasmic experience. And I felt so much disgust and shame about this. And then later on, it was glorified. So I had this like polarity of like glorification of my body's natural like experience, and shame and repression. So I had to unlearn all of that. I went to pelvic floor physios, which were so incredible. I did my like massive sex, love, and relationship coaching, which you all know about, which is like why I'm here and able to speak about this, because I have this incredible wisdom and background that was able to help me attune to my sensations and the way that my holding patterns. So I shifted my energy and my emotions and my thoughts and my pelvic floor to relax, to accept my body as it is, and to shift my relationship with my bladder, with my pelvic floor, with my pussy, with everything that comes in that realm, to feel like, oh no, I support you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to listen to you. When you have to go pee, we're going to breathe and slowly walk, and we're going to have that experience. Or when when like, this is me talking to my pussy, my pelvic floor, literally in real time. Like when I'm, having a sexual experience, I'm literally talking to my pussy and my pelvic floor. I'm like, it's okay. You're safe to relax and let go. You're allowed to have this experience. You're allowed to be received by this other person. You're allowed to be received by the earth. And the thing that I find so fascinating is that I was so deeply concerned about my impact on the planet. I didn't want to have like even a remotely negative impact, which is so wild to me because I'm somebody that cares so much and thinks so much about these things. And those are actually the people that often need to be taking up more space and using their voice more, and like feeling agency in their body, and feeling like, oh, my body is mine, this is my body. And so that moment in the playa where I realized I was allowed to do something that I was told that I wasn't allowed to, just sent me on this incredible journey of permission and busting through this shame narrative and this shame energy that I was holding, and going through all these healing journeys through my somatic intimacy coaching practice, and through my self-pleasure reclamation and healing shame, and freeing my body's holding patterns, and going to these professionals and therapies to support me and to rewrite that neural pathway, and seeing how it was all connected to, our relationship with the way that we have sex can also be the way that we go pee or eat our food, or you know walk in the world, and the way that we think. Like, there's such a beautiful interconnectedness that I see happening in all of this. So I feel so honored that I was able to see that pattern so in such a profound way, and so obviously it was made clear to me, so that I could shift my relationship with my body and with spirit to one of like deep prayer, and this beautiful reciprocity, and this checking in, like, how are you? Is this okay? Can we have this experience? Or like, thank you, earth, for receiving me and loving me. Thank you, body, for receiving me and loving me. And yeah. I I love when I get to have these experiences that were blind spots for me, that our path to healing wants to find us and wants to know us and love us. And there are so many signals that our body, mind, and heart are giving us on a daily basis that we might ignore because we're always trying to be good or do the right thing, when actually those good or right things are not actually good for us or right for us. They were just told that from a young age, and we just wanted to fit in and belong, so we accepted it without questioning it. I think it's so beautiful to question our stories that we have with our body and our stories that we have, our belief systems, and give them this update, this more empowering, choice-filled relationship. That is one of my many stories for a moment where I was able to, just profoundly heal my relationship with my body and all of this shame that was given to me that is not mine. For whatever reason, we're taught to fear our bodies, and we're taught to feel gross about them. We're taught to feel that they're wrong. And I'm just so honored to be on this path of reclaiming that and creating my own stories that feel freeing and wild and empowering and in connection with the land and the earth, and where I get to see my body in the earth and the earth in my body and treat it with respect and asking it what it needs and wants. So, my loves, that is my epiphany, and one of my, like I said, many empowering stories. And this was before I even became a somatic intimacy coach, before I even knew that I was headed down this journey to help others heal their shame and reclaim their body as theirs and their agency, and free up this space so that hearts can, live and play and experience joy and receive love in a more aware way. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my pain on the playa story. Don't tell